everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. Welcome to week 1 of our 2023 fall crochet along. We are going to be making this adorable crochet pumpkin tower. This is 3 very easy to make pumpkins with some little stems and leaves at the top. And we're going to learn how to do this every step of the way. Now this will be broken down into parts over the next couple of weeks. So we're going to learn how to do this in its entirety all the way through every stitch of the way together. This is really easy to make, and I'm going to show you how to do it every step of the way. So today we're going to be talking about the project, the sizing, and some of the supplies that you'll need. I'm going to be very exact about all the supplies and the yardage and things. And then for week 2, next week, we're going to learn how to make these pumpkins. These are very easy rectangles, and we're going to learn how to kind of cleverly seam them so they look like 3-dimensional pumpkins. So we're going to learn how to make the large, the medium, and the small together next week. For week 3, we're going to learn how to make a simple 1-round crochet leaf. I made 2 here in 2 different colors to kind of bring some color through the whole thing. And we're going to learn how to make a very easy stem. For week 4, we're going to take all of the parts, our pumpkin rectangles, our stem, and our leaves, and we're going to learn how to assemble everything. We're going to seam up the pumpkins. We're going to learn how to take yarn and create these divots so they look like pumpkins. We're going to stitch it all together, and then we're going to add some accessories to the top of our piece. And then for week 5, what I like to do every time we have a crochet along together is kind of do a recap post over at the blog and have all the video tutorials and all the blog post links in one place so you can go to it at any time forever. These tutorials will always be up and you can access them at any time. So what I like to do for the final week of our crochet along for week 5 is to just have one post with everything in one handy spot. A lot of you like to come back and revisit some of these projects and make them again and again. So let's jump right in next with some of the supplies and the sizing for this. And then that way you'll have a full week to kind of collect everything you need and you'll be all set when we jump in and do the pumpkins next week. Okay, so for sizing, to get an idea, now this is with the type of hook and yarn that I used. If you go up to heavier yarn, of course, and a bigger hook, of course, your piece will be bigger. If you go to smaller yarn, if you want a miniature one, of course, it'll be smaller if you're using thinner yarn and a smaller hook, okay? We're going to talk about the hook and yarn in just a moment. Now, the total height from the bottom of the pumpkin to the top of the stem is about 10.5 inches tall altogether. Now each pumpkin, the orange pumpkin is about 4 inches tall, the green pumpkin is about 3 inches tall, and the top pumpkin, the smallest pumpkin, is about 2 inches tall. And then the leaves and the stem at another 1.5 inches, giving it a total height of 10.5 inches. Okay, so the circumference, if we look at the top view here, the circumference of our largest pumpkin is about 25 inches all the way around. Our green pumpkin has a circumference of about 20 inches. And then our little gold pumpkin at the top here has a circumference of about 13 inches. So just to give you an idea of sizing, this makes a nice sized centerpiece for a table or up on a mantle or on a tabletop. It's just a great size. It's not overly big, but it does have some nice, sizing for a lovely piece of decor. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle to kind of seam it and sew it all together. You'll need a tape measure, especially if you want to kind of change up the sizing a little bit. We're going to be using some filling to stuff our pumpkins. I'm going to be using some fiber fill. This is also called polyfill. It comes in big bags at the craft store. It's pretty inexpensive. This is the kind of stuff that's in like a throw pillow or a stuffed animal or something. We're going to use this to stuff our pumpkins. However, if you want to recycle, you can use things that you have on hand, like yarn scraps, fabric scraps. Some people use cotton balls. You could use a mix of all that, just whatever you have on hand. But I'm going to use this in this video to do this, but feel free to recycle. It's always a great idea. We're going to use, for our hook, we're going to use a 6mm J crochet hook. This is my streamline wood from Furls. I'll put the link down below if you'd like to get one for yourself. And then let's talk about this yarn. So let me clear all this out of the way. This is a super bulky yarn. It's kind of like a chenille yarn. It has a very like almost like a crushed velvet feel to it. And I picked some really nice fall colors. This is called Baby Snuggle from Hobie. And this is a number 6 super bulky yarn on the yarn weight scale, but it's a little thinner than a lot of the super bulky yarns out there. It actually recommends a US 6mm J crochet hook. A lot of super bulky yarns will recommend like an L hook or an M hook or an N hook or a P hook. This one has just a slightly thinner strand. So that's why we are going to be using the J hook for this. Now I picked some really nice colors, and again, if you want to get the same yarn I have, I'll put the link down below as well. Now I have some like a pumpkin orange here. This is color 25. If you go to their website, this is like an I would say like an evergreen kind of green color, like a forest green. This is color number 22. This is like a gold or like a deep mustard yellow. This is color 24. And then this is like just a really like almost like a twig color or like some tree bark or something. Just like some really rich, beautiful fall colors I chose for this. Now, that being said, we're going to talk about the yardage in just a minute because we're not going to be using all 4 balls of this. We're going to be using just a little bit from the brown for the stem, a little bit for the green. So we're going to do, like I showed you at the beginning of the video, we're going to have an orange pumpkin and then a green pumpkin and then a yellow pumpkin stacked. And then we're going to use just a little bit of brown to do a stem. And we're going to do a little bit of green to do the middle pumpkin, but also a leaf and a curlicue. So we won't use all of this yarn that you see here. We're going to use a little bit from this one, a little bit from this one, and so forth. In just a minute, we're going to switch gears and I will show you the yardage that I used for each ball of this. And if you want to substitute yarn, just look for that super bulky 6 and the J hook. Now, if you get a super bulky 6 that recommends a bigger hook, that's okay. You can totally use that. Your pumpkins are just, and your whole tower, your little pumpkin tower, is just going to be slightly bigger. You're just going to sort of scale it up a little bit. And likewise, if you don't want to go with a yarn this thick and you want to do like a worsted weight yarn, for example, just know your pumpkin will just be scaled smaller, okay? Using the recommended hook size is a great idea though. For this, you don't want to go up a hook size than what it recommends because we will be stuffing. Anytime you're stuffing a project, you don't want any holes or don't want your fabric to be too open. You want it to hide the stuffing. You don't want it to, like, for example, see my hands, how if you have a looser fabric, you can see the stuffing. But if you have a more snug fabric, it'll be concealed, okay? Okay, so when we hop back, I'm going to show you the yardage for each color so you can kind of replicate and see what's in your stash or if you go yarn shopping. Okay, let's go back to the finished pumpkin here and talk about the yardage for our yarn. We have 4 different colors. Like I mentioned before, we have the orange, the green, the gold, and a little bit of this brown here. So just to break it down, the orange, I used about 130 yards of the orange. I used about 80 yards of the green, 40 yards of the gold, and just 1 yard of this brown color for our stem. Now the leaves, I included that in the yardage. You can add more leaves and kind of tuck them in here if you want to, if you have more yarn leftovers. It's totally up to you. But those are the approximate yarn yardages for each color. Now you can mix up the colors how you like, but if you wanted to replicate what I had, those were the amounts that I used. Okay, so that concludes week 1. So we learned about all the supplies and information that you'll need, the sizing, etc. So when we rejoin next week, we'll be ready to jump right in and start crocheting our pumpkin rectangles. So I will see you next week, and be sure and use that hashtag FiberFluxCal to share your work or your work in progress that you're working on. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest FiberFlux video updates. Thanks again.